Hey, uh, I have a couple of things that, because we had such a packed class on Wednesday, I didn't manage to talk about or show you. So I wanted to take a few minutes on a video to show them to you. By the way, this is called Zoom. This little piece of software that I'm using, and we can use it for virtual office hours. That is, if you wanted to chat with me, and couldn't make it to my office, we could do this. All I would need is 15 minutes of lead time, and we can chat through video. So anyway, let me share my screen with you. And couple of things. I have added, wrong page. I have added one more file. I know I said this was my last file, that fond farewell to the Middle Ages. But actually, I've added this one now, Chaucer and Charles Olson. Some of you will know that Charles Olson is an American poet of the 20th century. And I gave a lecture on Charles Olson last year. You can see the entire lecture on this link, but what I've posted on the website is a little section about Chaucer. Nobody really knew that Chaucer was an important influence on Charles Olson until I gave this lecture last year. I'm kidding. So anyway, look, The Miller's Tale. I actually, as I say at the beginning of this file, I realized that a lot of what I said in class on Wednesday came from this lecture, so I thought I'd make it available. And so at your pleasure, it's only 3 pages long, and it has some really interesting things to say about Chaucer that I didn't get to say on Wednesday. So that's there. And here, I'm so excited. This is like a dot cam that I just got yesterday that I have in my home. So I can actually do other things. I can show you the Norton Anthology. Believe it or not, this was on the reading schedule for this Chaucer week. I have no idea why I did that, but on page 424 of the volume A of the Norton Anthology, we have the book of Margery Kempe, and I'm so sorry that we didn't get to talk about this or didn't have time. In fact, I'm almost want to talk about it on Monday. She's so weird and so interesting a figure. You can read the first paragraph of the introduction with me. The Book of Margery Kempe is the spiritual autobiography of a medieval laywoman, that is, lower to middle class, telling of her struggles to carry out instructions for a holy life that she claimed to have received in personal visions from Christ and the Virgin Mary. That assertion of such a mission by a married woman, the mother of, wait for it, 14 children, was in itself sufficient grounds for controversy. In addition, Kempe's outspoken defense of her visions, as well as her highly emotional style of religious expression, embroiled her with fellow citizens and pilgrims and with the church, although she also won both lay and clerical supporters. Ordered by the Archbishop of York to swear not to teach in his diocese, she courageously stood up for her freedom to speak her conscience. This was an amazing woman. This is probably the first autobiography in English, which would make it alone worth your time to check out. But she's also, like, I hesitate to say this, she was a bit crazy. and as it says, she received personal visions from Christ and the Virgin Mary, and she wrote about them, or rather, she didn't write about them. she dictated them to a priest. So there's some controversy about whether this is actually this woman's tale, but never mind that. You just got to read it. For example, here's one of the visions of Jesus, where she says, Lord Jesus Christ, ever to be trusted, worshipped be his name, never forsaking his servant in time of need, appeared to his creature, that is her, who had forsaken him in likeness of a man, most seemly, most beautiful, and most amiable that ever might be seen with man's eye, clad in a mantle of purple silk, sitting upon her bedside, looking upon her with so blessed a countenance that she was strengthened in all her spirit, said to her these words, Daughter, why have you forsaken me, and I forsook never you? I know what you're thinking. You're going to have a more uncharitable interpretation of this vision than she did. But that was the first vision that she had of Jesus coming to talk to her. Take a minute to read this. It's not long, and you will appreciate that you know something about Margery Kempe. Okay, and then let's get rid of that. And the last thing I have to tell you today is, am I still sharing the screen? Oh, I see, but I'm up there. Volume B of the Norton Anthology. We will get to it on Monday, even if I do ramble on a little bit about Margery Kempe and Charles Olson and Chaucer. But we will get to some very important context, I think, for the Renaissance that I don't think we talked about the first time through. That's all. I'll see you on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.